I mean, it's fair to say that we do place a high emphasis on an academic tertiary qualification in South Africa, don't we?
Yes, we do. South Africa are one of the few countries where a qualification is held in such high esteem. Most of our people look at it as a way to get into some sort of employment. Even prior to this amendment, there was a host of labor court cases which dealt with CV fraud or CV misrepresentation. And one has to ask the question, why is that so? It's because it's a way to get into employment. What this does is, what this amendment bill does, although passed, is that it hasn't been, the date for implementation hasn't yet been proclaimed. Yep. So at the moment it's passed into law, hasn't been proclaimed. But what is its essence? Its essence is, be careful as to what you say, as to the qualifications that you hold. And why is that important? Because when you have a particular, when you represent that you have a particular qualification, you represent that you've gone through a particular period of study. So the question is, but what does experience count for this?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you should have it in your curriculum vitae under a different section, that although I don't have an academic qualification, I have the necessary experience. But misrepresenting or telling an employer that I have a qualification when in fact I don't, forget about just your ability. It talks about the trust relationship. How can I trust you when at the initial stages you're not even truthful? So the amendment bill, apart from criminalizing it, from an employment perspective, the fact that you may be jailed or imprisoned, we can terminate your employment on the basis of misrepresentation on your CV, and that could happen even 5, 6 years down the line.
And also it sort of leaves a black mark on your name for other employment opportunities.
I have no doubt about it. And this, the bill, where the date's still going to be proclaimed, you're going to have a national register where your qualifications are going to be held, and the South African Qualifications Authority, if you lie to say that I have a qualification, and we're only talking about employees, and in fact you don't, they will refer that to the particular professional body. So the consequences of this are far-reaching. You need to ask yourself, what is the philosophy or what is the theory behind this? Is to weed out those individuals who profess to have particular academic qualifications when in fact they don't, and it is to ensure that those that have qualifications actually get a fair opportunity and compete on an equal footing.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, this issue around making false claims, even on social media, even on LinkedIn, that could also get you into trouble. Is that a bit harsh?
Well, I don't think it is. I think the new way to market oneself is through social media. So if you look at how do employers recruit at the moment, the traditional methods don't bear much fruit any longer. So going through word of mouth or an agency. So what people are doing is going through social media and
marketing themselves.
Yeah. Because that's the best way. And you as an employer say, oh, you've said you've got an MBA or you've got a legal degree, let me at least consider you. So getting you into the getting you into the door, just because of what you said on LinkedIn, should be taken into account to determine this.
Very quickly before we let you go, you talk about there's not arguably enough emphasis on experience versus actual academic qualifications. I mean, we know that the pool is so large when it comes to people who are looking for particular jobs, and the jobs pool is so small, so there is that desperation. But what would be your advice, perhaps, to someone who doesn't have the necessary qualification in a particular field, but they do have extensive experience?
I would say that, let me just link it to a particular piece of legislation. The Employment Equity Act, which is an act that governs how do we address the imbalances of the past, talks about suitably qualified individuals. And you would see that most advertisements, even if they don't have a minimum qualification for an academic degree, do say we will appoint people from suitably qualified. There is no justification to lie. There is no justification to misrepresent what you have, simply saying that I am suitably qualified, I have sufficient experience in order to meet your requirements. I think most employers would align themselves with such information.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks very much for coming into studio. That's some valuable advice there. He's the director of Cliff Decker's Employment Practice, Adi Patel, joining us in studio.